So when we think about the art of MCing, you know, the word flow comes up, and I think people misuse the word flow. I think people say, oh, this guy's got such a cold flow, and what they really mean to say is like he's a sick rapper. Like, flow isn't everything. Within saying that, flow is a huge part of an MC, because without a good flow, like, you could have the best delivery and the best lyricism in the world, but if you don't have at least the foundations of a tidy flow, your verse is going to be absolutely all over the place. And so today I want to mainly focus on flow, and I just want to highlight what some of the top artists do. I put out the question on Instagram, who do you think has the best flow from Australia? And I got a variety of answers, so I want to look over some of the most popular choices and just look at what they do in particular that might not only be them, it might be something that a lot of top artists do, but just something that they do really well to establish their flow. Because in theory, every artist should have a different flow. That's not the case. I mean, we're human, we listen to other people's music, and consciously or subconsciously we pick up things from the artists that we enjoy and like. But I want to highlight the ones that have really stood out because of theirs, or ones that are just really good at being able to utilize different ones. And yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, so the first artist we're going to look at is Chillin' It. Chillin' It is, you know, Chillin' It is an elite MC for his rapping ability. Like, whether you like him or not, you can't say the man can't rap. You know what I mean? And again, flow's a big part of that. He has such a tidy flow. I don't think his flow ever stands out on a regular basis anyway. I can think of a couple tracks where he does like different stuff. Like, first thing that comes to mind is when he did the track with Nerve, Where You Been. Like, Chill utilized some crazy flows in that. And freestyles like this, like Overdrive and Overkill, he does the same. What I want to highlight here is how he starts this off though, because he starts off with this first 8 or first 16, however you count it, just with a really consistent kind of slower kind of flow, like and it's like really consistent. And then when the drop hits, then he starts getting more rapid with it and starts getting more skippy. Watch what he does. Speaking the levels, my girl be the devil, and she wants to smoke on the 60th floor. She wanna rough, she wanna fuck, man on the floor. Right, so we kind of, you get the idea. But then the drop hits, I think he leaves it a bar now, and then he starts coming in on like some gum finger shelly shit. Like, listen. Brother, how you on the rocks and you're not straight? How you on the top, you're not, your shit drop when the flop can't stick him see through like scotch tape. And then he gets more techie with it, and it gives the as well as the delivery, the beat, etc, the flow is a big part of that. It's a very steady flow, it's a very steady build up, and then when that drop hits, there's twists and turns, and it gives that roller coaster effect. Is something I talk about a lot, more so with energy, but it can be affected by flow too. Chill's very good at switching his flow at the right time. He doesn't sit on a flow for too long and let it become monotonous. He's very good at transitioning at the time when he needs to. Next person I'm gonna get onto is Nerve. Nerve has changed his flow over the years due to just making different music, whether it be boom bap, whether it be grime, whether it be Nerve doing Nerve things, is what I like to say now. A mix of grime, trap, drill. Like, he's got all sorts infused now. And I feel like his sound now is a lot cleaner than it used to be, in my opinion. But Nerve has had a journey, and what Nerve is very good at doing is establishing a flow. What I mean by this is repeating the same, if not a similar amount of syllables each and every line. Not line. Whatever rhyme he has, he keeps to the same amount of syllables also. So here he just keeps it simple, a 2-syllable rhyming scheme. I think it starts with CeeLo. Right, so the first 2 lines is CeeLo and Beast Mode. I think that CeeLo line is actually the 8th bar on the previous 8, so Beast Mode is actually the first of this new 8, but either way, so he comes into it, so it's driving crazy like CeeLo, something, Beast Mode, and that's what you're gonna hear for the next 8 bars. So let's go back and go through that first like 4 or 5. So Vic Mensa was from the previous thing, and then on the 8th bar, what lands on, he lands on CeeLo now. Beast mode. So that's the 5th time he's used that rhyming scheme, but it's actually the 4th bar in this 8, and then he continues to run with that rhyming scheme. And then once he's finished with that flow, he then switches up and goes to a new one, because similar to Chill, if he stuck with that flow throughout the whole 3 minutes, it would be boring.
I'm at the club and I hate it. All of you fuckers are basic. They trying to beat my game, so boy, just come up and say it.
But again, it's still, he's sticking to a 2-syllable rhyming scheme. Basic. No, say it. Like, it's just clean. You don't have to say like 5-syllable multis and it sound good. Like, if you say multiplication, dolphins vacation, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's a bit of a stretch when they do it, and we call them I call them the lyrical schmiracles, you know what I mean? Like, the guys that are just trying to fit as many syllables into a rhyming word as possible. Like, just because your rhyming scheme has 7 syllables doesn't make it a good rhyming scheme. Sometimes some of the cleanest flows are off of 2 or 3 syllable multis. But somebody who does do the multi-syllable thing really well is probably one of the most popular picks from this video. So Wombat's very good at doing it. Even then, listen carefully, that's still only a 3-syllable multi. Burn CDs like piracy, burn these trees like like, it's a 3-syllable rhyming scheme. Flyless scene, killing it, thrill of it, chilling it, like samurai, feast of the dead and night, the night, right? So then he does this gray area where it's like, technically it's a 3-syllable rhyming scheme. You know a flow's techie when I struggle to break it down. Like, Wombat is one of the anomalies here where he can throw in 11-syllable rhyming phrases and it works. Like, yes, it's difficult to follow along with, especially tracks like this. But there's so much replay value within that, because if you can catch every single bar, there's absolute gold dust in there. Because for a lot of this, it's not just filler content. For the most part of this, it is not filler content. Like, he's actually got a punchline, or he's actually being lyrical there. Like, there's actually some imagery being painted, and it's not just generic shit. Like, listen to what he does over this next like 5-second period or so. He spits bars and then allows it to breathe in between. Watch. Just save the devotion, bleed for the pen and one. Nah. Better leave where your loin is a creep in the dead and right. So see how he allows the beat to breathe at times before he then goes in relentlessly, because Wombat does go in relentlessly for like 32 bars straight, but he'll leave these pockets here and there where he just allows the beat to breathe. And that's kind of important from a writing perspective if you're thinking about performing it live, because oftentimes with verses like this, artists go in and record like 16 bars at a time because their lungs cannot hack doing this for like 3 minutes straight. Wombat's the anomaly that apparently can just straight up just go for 3 minutes straight doing this, but I think it's important for him to have these gaps here and there to allow him to just catch his breath a little bit, because even if you're not out of breath there and then, you still need to take in more oxygen at some point. And if you can do that as prevention rather than cure, that's better. Because if you're taking the break because you're running out of breath, what you'll hear is it then takes away from the delivery. You'll hear people at the end of their voice. So as I'm talking now, I've still got breath, but as I'm getting to the end of my lungs, you can hear my voice changing because I'm getting out the last bit. You see what I mean? So when an artist is spitting, that can affect their delivery. What Wombat will do is Wombat will take those pauses before he gets to the end of his breath, so that he's not at the end of his breath trying to get the last bit out. He's just confident, like he's already there beforehand. And the good thing is that gives you leeway, so that if you are spitting that live and going absolutely ham and overdoing it, then at least that's there to fall back on. Like, if you're not a rapper and you're just watching this video just for the entertainment, I don't know, informational purposes, whatever, it might not make as much sense. If you're an artist, I might have not have explained it well, but I know you know what I mean, especially if you are a higher tempo rapper like Wombat. All right, next one on the list, Alex Jones, aka Dr. Flea. Like, A-Dot is so versatile when it comes to flows, similar to some of the previous artists we mentioned. He could do it on boom bap, he could do it on grime. Grime is where I like his flow the most though. What he's able to do is fit in the pocket unconventionally. Like, when you're in the pocket of a beat, I don't know how to explain that in technical terms, but you will be able to just hear it or not. What Alex Jones does here, I can't explain, because he's in the pocket, but if I was teaching someone to flow, I wouldn't tell them to flow like this. It's like correcting someone's punching technique. Well, yeah, that's not the correct technique, but if you're knocking people out left, right, and center, then I'm not going to exactly correct you either. I do it with football players all the time. There's some kids that I teach, and like, the way that they shoot is like incorrect. From a technical standpoint, it's incorrect. But if they're effective and they score loads of goals, I'm not going to correct them either. And this is how I feel when listening to AJ sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, I would not tell anyone to flow like that. But he makes it work. Like, listen to this.
Guess again, rep with SOS, tell any of them to send like SMS. Since 2010, been a young veteran, yeah, the pen I aim for the head like Venom, yeah.
Like, it's fast and slow. It's almost like he's dragging it along, but it just works.
Guess again, better mama bury them, resurrect your body to make shit dead again. In the present tense, I'ma edit them, might just rip out your soul, your skeleton.
And what I like is that, yeah, he does the slower thing, present tense. Like, he slows it down and then speeds it up and then slows it back down and then speeds it back up again. Like, it's mad. By the way, can we just look at the background of this shot from like left to right? I think we got Talakai there, half in shot. You got Wombat, Nerve. I think that's Dime behind AJ. You got Chill. You got fucking Husky. You got Monk. You got Stanza. Like, yo, this is mad. That, yeah, this was a nutty one. This whole cipher was mad. That's something. That's the other point I wanted to make. His play on words is so mad. Like, I know this is kind of drifting away from flow, but he makes it fit in terms of wrecking them, recommend. Like, wrecking them, recommend. So he's played on the word with the same amount of syllables also. Let me listen to it one more time. So it bounces, it continues to roll off of the previous scheme. He's still running with the same rhyming scheme as before. Like, just the being able to play on a word and extend your multi by flipping a certain phrase or flipping a word is just is crazy. Like, yeah, and he includes that so effortlessly. And what I like is that stands out to me, but he hasn't overemphasized that. That's just casually fitting in. And this is what I mean by some artists, when they do crazy flows, they lack the lyrical content that goes with it. The reason why AJ is arguably my favorite of all time from Australia is because he's able to do these trippy and skippy flows whilst also having the lyrical content there. It's not just a flow for the sake of the flow. Does that make sense? Like, he's not just doing something crazy with how he delivers it for the sake of it. There's purpose behind it. There's a reason he's sped up there. There's a reason he slows down at other parts. There's a reason there's a gap there. There's a reason he continues to run over here. And everything just has purpose. And it's why I rate A. so highly. Next person on my list could arguably be controversial. Now, when I put this question out, a ton of people said Cursor. I personally disagree. I don't think Cursor has a crazy flow. I actually sometimes dislike Cursor's flow. The reason for this is Cursor is the opposite of AJ in terms of he is so, like, foundational 101. Now, that's not to say that he can't do mad flows. For the most part, though, Cursor has a very basic flow. Like, so basic that it annoys me. And that's when I say I dislike it, as in, I wish he did more of the technical shit. But I think this is why people like it. If you're not a barhead like someone like me is, yeah, sometimes you're just there for the vibe and the mood. And what Cursor's so good at doing is laying it out so simply for you. Like, if you talk about certain other artists, maybe they're the techie wingers that can dribble with the ball and do bare mad shit with their footwork, innit? Cursor's the guy that just knows how to play a pass. He can put it on a plate for the striker. He puts it on a plate for the punchline because it's so easily understood. It's so easy to follow along with, and that's where the compliment is. So I personally don't like it sometimes. When I say sometimes, by the way, this is like 30% of the time, right? For the most part, I like Cursor. 30% of the time though, it's so jarringly basic, but that's why I think people love it. Let me just make this very clear if I haven't made this clear already. This is not hate. This is actually a compliment towards Cursor. It annoys me at how good he is at making his thing sounds so easily accessible.
They want the technical rhymes. I'm like, fuck that. I used to have a stash spot in the bottom of my bum bag.
Like there's nothing mad about that. It is so straightforward, but I heard every single lyric because of it. Like kind of the opposite to Wombat in some ways. Like Wombat so techie with the flows, but I miss a lot of bars on the first listen round. First time round, I heard 80 to 90% of the bars. That's a skill in itself. And it's something that's definitely got better over the years. Like listening to Cursor like 9 years ago is a lot different to what it is now. I think it's a lot cleaner now as well. That's just my opinion, but I don't know. This is my question to you. And this is not a question of like, oh, how could you believe that? Like I'm asking out of curiosity. The point that I made about Cursor's flow being so easy to understand, is that why you man love it? Or is there something else that I'm missing that I just don't get about it? Like, why was Cursor such a popular pick in this list? Because he's not the first person who comes to mind for flow. But I'm not mad at him being here, and at the end of the day, adding Cursor into you could add Cursor into most discussions. Last person that I want to go over individually is Flows. Flows, again, is not known for crazy flows. Oh, this is gonna be fucking techie, ain't it? Similar reasons to Cursor in terms of it's so straightforward but easy to follow along with. Like I don't hear Flows coming out with nothing crazy ever, but it's so easy to follow along with, and it allows his storytelling ability to really shine through. Like if you're telling a story, you don't want the flows to be difficult to understand. You want it to be straightforward. UK artists like Cadet, rest in peace, like he's so great at doing that at the right times, or Rapman, or RA, or you know what I mean? Like there's some storytelling artists from the UK, Krept and Conan. They can do some of the techiest shit I've ever heard, but when they do their storytelling tracks, it's very straightforward. By the way, it being basic and straightforward is not a bad thing. It is a compliment. Not everyone can do that whilst also sounding good. Some people are trying their best and it sounds basic, and then it doesn't work. These men are purposefully choosing to just keep it simple, but it comes across and it is executed so cleanly. Sometimes, again, I'm going to come with a football analogy again. Sometimes you don't need to do a 45 ping across diagonally from left back to right wing. But what you can do sometimes is play a simple pass forward and have a 100% pass success rate.
People always talking about me, I ain't that important. The only time they ever happy is when I'm rapping for them. They getting mad at me cause I won't reply, but I don't even pick the phone up when my dad is calling. Nah.
That's the last thing that I wanted to mention about this, and I was just waiting for a really simple example of this. So let's take Flow's first 4 bars there, right? You've got, he's rhymed the first bar with the second. He skipped over the third and then come back to that same rhyming scheme from the first and second bar for the fourth. So 1, 2, and 4 rhyme, but the third he skips over. So let's go back and I'll show you exactly what I mean.
Always talking about me, I ain't that important.
That important.
The only time they ever happy is when I'm rapping for them.
Rapping for it.
Mad at me cause I won't reply.
Won't reply is the different one, and then it will come back to the not important something calling.
But I don't even pick the phone up when my dad
that is calling. So yeah. So one last time, I'm gonna just drill this into your brain. 1, 2 rhyme. 1, 2, and 4 rhyme. Number 3 bar 3 doesn't.
People always talking about me, I ain't that important. The only time they ever happy is when I'm rapping for them. They getting mad at me cause I won't reply, but I don't even pick the phone up when my dad is calling. Nah,
yeah, does that make sense? Like, and what that allows is that your 4th bar, or if that's at the end of an 8, or even a 16 at a stretch, it allows that last bar to hit. And so oftentimes, if you hear a punchline on the 4th or the 8th bar or something, you sometimes, or more often than not, will hear the bar switch away from that rhyming scheme and then come back. I just want to go through some honorable mentions now. Complete Complete's flow makes up for what some people say is a lack of delivery. His flow makes up for it 10 times over.
Don't notice your nervous quotes. I float coast to coast and choke loads of opponents' throats and go against the whole grain like I overdosed on top.
Like, he's not afraid to have his, instead of just having the rhyming words at the end of the bar, he'll include it midway through, something that Wombat does really well also. Multi-syllable rhyming. Like, he's so good at being able to just pepper it and mix it up as it goes. Yeah, it's mad. It's mad.
Yeah. Look at all these clones of blokes. Every song full of stoner jokes. I'd only smoke a cone if it's cold.
Like, when he had that only smoke in there, he didn't need to do that, but it just adds on and it just sounds mad when it happens. Like,
Then COVID, then go to your show just to blow my nose. Get covered in my slag and spit.
alright, and that's a good point to transition. A lot of people mention Lisi, and I think the reason people put him there again is not because he does techie shit, but because it's so straightforward and easy to understand. It's a clean flow. Like, there's not, it's a smooth ride. And some people like the luxury of listening to that. It's easier to listen to.
I come from Goodna, a little town unknown, sitting on the front line of Ipswich. And if you do your research, Goodna's a town the first to rep before 3 district, but don't get it twisted.
Like, so, you know, I mean, maybe it ain't as straightforward as I think off the top of my head. Maybe I do need to sit down and listen to DC more. But again, for a storytelling track where he's talking about himself in the area that he grew up here, is still very easy to follow along with. Lisi's someone I'm going to need to listen to again, with flow specifically in mind. Next person. Oh, hey, that's a great album cover. By the way, Visionary out now. It's my album. I'm gonna use an example from one of my tracks, Zephyr. Zephyr's cold, and I want to hear more music from him. I don't think he's active enough, in my opinion. Love to you, bro. Yeah, Zephyr on this track just did this madness where he kind of speeds up his flow. He like speed ramps his flow up and then back down and then speeds it up. He just, the tempo of his flow again is so unconventional but real techie with it. Listen.
Letters in a blacked out Magna. What a topic, but it's comedy. Stand out, money in my mind. I'll never be bankrupt. Skip it with the rhymes, real shit, no banter. And I gotta kill it, go psycho. That's no drama. My name ain't Dave though. Mash up.
Just like the way he's so skippy with it and speeds it up and slows it down. And like, when we're talking about a smooth ride, it's the opposite. Zephyr's like the little monkey at the circus or something, doing a madness, doing flips through the air and shit. Like, his flow is so techie. I can appreciate it equally though. There's storytelling and I love that. And then there's techie shit like this and I love it equally.
Pray with a venom in a bust. If they wanna clash, my brother, they giving up. When I'm on the mic, my brother rub on a muck. So if they want war, my brother rub it him up.
Like, what? Yeah. Feel free to go check out this track. Chazza, Scabs featuring Fracture and Zephyr. There's a lot of other artists that were mentioned in this suggestion comment thing as well. But yeah, just let me know, who have I not included in this video? Like, let's be real. If you're at the top of your game, you've got your foundations there. Like, even in this video, somebody might say, like, let's just use Lisi, for example. How did Lisi make the video, but not somebody else? Like, it's, you know, a lot of artists at a top level, of course, have their flow established. Like, and they've got their foundations there. They're at the top for a reason. I don't think there's many artists that could be at the top of the scene without having at least some sort of ability when it comes to flow. And even if you take the ones like Flows, like Cursor, the ones who keep it more straightforward, again, it's cleanly executed when being straightforward. Not everyone has to be a Wombat. Not everyone has to be a Nerve and do mad techie shit. Sometimes you can keep it more basic. It's the same as lyricism. We might do a lyricism episode of this, like, where people are like, oh, but he's not lyrical. Sometimes throwing a mad punchline doesn't mean that you're not a lyricist. You can be a lyricist without having setups and punches. And it's the same with flow. You don't have to do techie Zephyr shit for your flow to sound clean. I hope this makes sense. I don't know. Again, I'm not good when it comes to terminology and explaining things, but I hope you get an idea. And if you are an artist, I hope you keep some of these things in mind. Maybe I've pointed something out that you haven't thought of before. And if you're a fan, hopefully that at least one of my points stick in mind, so that when you're listening to somebody else, you can appreciate them just that little bit more, you know? That's why I kind of want to make videos like this and talk about things. One, to give some artists more shine, because any excuse to throw some of these artists in a video and talk about them is good by my books. And two, I just think it's good to, yeah, just help people just kind of maybe gather a different perspective on it. But if I've missed out on something major, like, please let me know in the comment section below. If I sound like I'm talking out my ass, let me know equally. Like, I don't know. I'm here to learn as well, innit? I might go away, learn some more shit, and do a part 2 to this video. And if I was to do a part 2, who would have to be included in that? Who have I missed out on that is just criminal not to have in this video? Again, I've not like planned this video, hence why I was doing the videos to it live. I was gonna like do a whole script and then include the mad long. Did it like this. Hope you enjoyed that. Money on my mind. I'll never be bankrupt. Skip